Throughout military history, soldiers in many ways have come in contact with physical stress and, most importantly, mental health issues. However, this is common as in a military setting, it isn't meant to be easy nor stress-free. Consequently, it has come to the attention of governments and health departments that the mental health of soldiers is affecting their everyday life, such as their work, family lifestyle, and even causing suicide. In fact, mental health is to be seen more in soldiers and veterans than in civilians. The JAMA Psychiatry study found that the rate of mental health issues are 20 times higher than civilians. My partner and I discussed with 3 interviewees, 2 being cadets and 1 being a commissioned officer, on how their experience with the military has affected them and those around them mentally.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Malcolm Haynes. I've been in the Army for 22 years, serving in infantry and army units. I'm an army officer, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan 3 times, currently teaching here at the United States Military Academy in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science.
Okay, our first question is, have you witnessed any of your soldiers experience mental health problems during deployments, and do you have any examples?
Yes, I had a soldier commit suicide, not during the deployment, but in the training to a deployment. He had a lot of issues going on. He was being divorced or getting divorced. He was going to lose custody of his child. He had a lot of debt, and stress of being prepared to go into deployment meant, he's probably gonna lose that child in the custody battle, and he had some other things going on with his parents. And so I guess he just felt overwhelmed by it, and he ended up committing suicide on the range one day.
From an officer standpoint, what steps did you take to ensure that your unit recovered after the soldier's suicide?
So anytime a unit loses a soldier, it's devastating, especially in a close-knit family like an infantry company is. And so we had to bring in counselors to talk to the entire unit. We had open door policy where we had soldiers' ability to come in and talk to the chain of command, all the way from the squad leader up to me and the first sergeant. At the time, I was the commander for the company. And then over a period of months, we just constantly monitored everyone's health. We did checkups, made sure everyone was okay. Had squad leaders and platoon sergeants going to people's homes and doing sort of checkups on them, making sure everything's okay. And then also, obviously, we wanted to make sure that didn't happen to anyone else in it, so we just spent a lot of time, just trying to establish and make sure everyone had a good mental health going into the deployment.
Okay. If you're open to talking about it, have you ever struggled with mental health during or after deployment?
Yeah, so after I returned from my first deployment to Iraq, it was after the surge. We'd spent 15 months downrange, in relatively constant contact with enemy forces. So when I came home, I was, I guess you could say, I had some sort of a mild PTSD, where I was kind of really jumpy whenever I heard a loud noise. If my wife touched me when I was sleeping, I would just, jump up and start getting ready to fight or something like that. And so that was tough for a couple months after I came back. But being back in the home environment, being around my family, my wife, my kids, it helped me calm down over time. And so after a few months, I felt like I was back to being normal.
Hi, I'm Cadet Corporal Tyrell Cook. I've been in the Army for 4.5 years. Served as a 25 Bravo Information Systems Specialist. Deployed to the Middle East, mainly Kuwait and Iraq, for 9 months. And I'm currently a Cadet Corporal at West Point.
When you switched from civilian life to military life, when you enlisted, what were some specific things that affected you mentally?
Mentally, I can say, getting acclimated to military life and culture. Coming from waking up whenever I want to the early wake-ups at 5:30, to doing physical fitness first thing in the morning without, getting any nutrition in my body. And then just, getting acclimated to military PT, constantly getting yelled at by drill instructors, just getting broken down from civilian, getting turned into a soldier, and just making that transition to, becoming a soldier.
Different atmosphere and all that, right?
Yeah, different atmosphere, Army professionals are a lot more, serious and uptight, but even though they can be serious sometimes, they're trying to, help develop you as a leader.
Right. Okay. Now, since you were a prior service and now a cadet at the United States Military Academy, what are some things that makes the cadet life different from the enlisted life? How has this affected you mentally?
Mentally, I can say it's a challenge coming from an enlisted soldier to a cadet. Whereas on the enlisted side, your day-to-day schedule is pretty much routine. You wake up, you do PT, you go to work, you get off work. And then coming to here as a cadet, the day-to-day schedule is constantly changing. You have multiple areas in which you need to study and excel in, from academics to military pillar to physical fitness. On the enlisted side, just normally same thing day in, day out, but as a cadet, every day is a new like challenge and adventure.
It's like going from job to now student, right? Basically, military job to student.
So making that transition from soldier to student would be a bit challenging and stuff, especially mentally after being out of like an academic setting for a couple of years. It's definitely a challenge getting back into like academic mindset.
If you're open to talk about it, have you ever struggled with mental health both in the enlisted service or as a cadet?
Yes, I would say I've struggled with mental health both, especially like being a deployed soldier. Takes a toll, you know, being away from friends and family for a long period of time, missing all those big events, you know, birthdays, weddings, deaths in the family. And the same kind of here being as a cadet, you know, being away from friends and family, missing out on all those like significant life events that you would like to take part in. You kind of like distant from it all. Kind of makes you wish that you were there and not like here as a cadet 24/7.
Especially as a cadet, you get a lot of anxiety from like all the schoolwork and all that you wouldn't really get if you were, you know, just working as an enlisted soldier, you know.
Yeah, definitely as a cadet, like you get that buildup of academic pressure as well as that like personal pressure from home of things that's going on away from the academy.
Hi, I'm Madison Warren. I'm part of the class of 2023 here at West Point. My dad is a Brigadier General in the United States Army Reserves. He's been deployed to Iraq, Haiti, and Afghanistan throughout his time in the Army.
So the first question I'm going to ask is, how do you think your family's mental health was affected by your dad's deployments?
Okay, so my dad's first deployment in 2004 was to Iraq, which was during the heat of the War on Terror war. And the biggest thing for my family was my mom was like super lonely, and like the lack of communication like totally affected our family. My brothers and I were pretty young. So that was like our biggest thing, is like the loneliness and like the communication. Like my mom was pretty down for a while. Like she works full time too, so balancing all of us like definitely took a strain on like our family. But we made it work with like the help of like our grandma and our grandpa. So friends and family were like a big deal during that time.
How do you think your mental state would have changed if you had to move around for your dad?
So my family was pretty fortunate enough to not move around while my dad was on active duty and while he was in the reserves. We live in Westchester, New York, so about 40 minutes from here. So when he was on his multiple deployments, my family just stayed where we were, which we were very fortunate enough to do. So if we were to move around, I think that would put a strain on my brothers and I, like re-socializing into like different school districts and like moving across the country into different states would have been really difficult. Like we're outgoing, but like the change would like, it's never really easy to like meet new friends and like move with your whole family. So overall, like we were pretty lucky to stay localized the entire time.
The last question is, if you're willing to discuss it, have you ever struggled with mental health while being a cadet?
So going into my plebe year, I feel like I'm very fortunate enough to have my father in the Army, so I was familiar enough with the background of it. I think I would have been completely lost during Beast, trying to find out all the new information that we needed to know. And so I think I'm very fortunate with that, like being familiarized with everything. And if one thing I struggled most with plebe year was like just adjusting to like academics and balancing lacrosse as well. Like mental health is like extremely important to have, and if you're able to like find the right people here, like you can overcome like a lot of obstacles like with the help of teachers and friends and stuff. So overall I'm very fortunate to like understand my footing here and like understand what I needed to do to succeed, and I'm in a good place right now. So last year was a struggle, but we're all grinding through.